Okay, so here we are back in the warehouse again, and if you can see what I see, you probably know what I'm going to talk about. Rinnai, Rinnai, Rinnai. So we're just going to do a quick little tour of some of the models that we keep. Ooh, those are V53Ds. These are external natural. These are kind of organized like naturals on one side, propanes on the other. V65s. Okay, so what does that V mean? Anybody? Anybody know? It doesn't come with the isolation kit. That's all that means. V is just it's a cheaper model. Um, the 5.3, if you had a one bath house or like a camper or something like that, it's a good fit for that. You know, if you don't need a huge amount of hot water, like you just got one lavatory and a bathtub and maybe a kitchen sink hooked up to it, that's plenty. You know, and the 6.5, same story. If you're in a low demand situation, they're perfectly fine. They're great little heaters. I've been seriously thinking about buying one just to put on the side of my house, just for my bathroom group. But you know, whatever. Um, these are all those are all external. Okay, so we have an internal natural 6.5 right here. Okay. Oh, RLs. Okay, so we got some RL 75s, 7.5. The 7.5s are usually plenty for most people. This is kind of this is what I call your best bang for your buck model. It's going to work for the majority of people. Um, they're pretty solid heaters. Let's see, these are all natural, but we keep them in propane. But there's also an internal version, inside model, RL75s. And then we have the RL94s. Again, external or internal. The 9.4, as far as non-condensing goes, is basically your Cadillac option. You can feed a lot of fixtures with one of these. For most people, they're overkill. They're way overkill for most people. What's this back here? Some more RLs. Ooh, some CUs. We'll talk about those later. Oh, let's see. So when we're talking about these Rinnais, condensing versus non-condensing, okay? So the V's and RLs, those are non-condensing heaters. There's no condensate to worry about. So and that comes down to the design and the way the burner and assembly and all that set up. It's not as efficient, but you have less you have to worry about. You know, you don't have to worry about running a condensate line. That's the primary thing. You're just not quite as efficient. Also, these heaters, in comparison to the condensing units, are relatively dumb. I guess they're not dumb, but they're as far as the electronics inside go, they aren't. They're not as smart. Anyway, that's not necessarily a bad thing. I kind of like the old school way they work. You know, they're plenty smart for what they do. You know, don't make it too complicated. Those are the simple solution. RUs, Sensei. So these are all condensing RU units, RUs and RURs. Okay. One thing to note about part numbers: 5.3, 6.5, 7.5, 9.4, and all that. That's like the flow rate. Can't get tongue tied here. The RU units and RURs, that's the BTU, 160,000 BTU. 199s, 199,000 BTU. Okay, it's just a different way of naming it. And again, they come in internal and external varieties, natural and propane. There's 199. RU. RUR. 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 The main difference between the RURs and the RUs is the built-in recirculation pump. Okay, so RURs, they come with a pump. You can do a programmable pump, and it also comes out with the crossover tee you need if you're doing like a refit situation where you want to use your cold line as your recirculation line. Really smart system, and I believe that crossover tee is actually a Grundfos part, if I remember correctly. I think Grundfos actually manufactures those for Rinnai, which is pretty cool. It's a fantastic system. They're pricey. They're very pricey, but you really do get what you pay for sometimes. They're excellent. If I were to build a new house today, I would probably throw one of these RU160s in. I personally don't really care for recirculation. If it was my house, I wouldn't really pay for it. I can wait a minute to get hot water. But especially the RU, like the 160, that's plenty for most houses. Plenty. The 199 is overkill for most people, but you get tons of hot water out of one of those. You get something like upwards of 10 or 11 gallons per minute out of one of those things in ideal conditions. Like it's insane. If you're maxing one of those out, you've got a monster sized house, and you've got some crazy fixtures, a crazy fixture situation going on. And then you got your CUs commercial, condensing. They all come in 199, 199,000 BTU. They're all internal. They're all natural. Oh, wait a second. We do have an external natural. Never mind. Okay, never mind. Generally speaking, you're going to install these these are going to be installed as an internal application, but they do make an external. I mean, I didn't realize we had a few here, but I actually have several here. Oh, interesting. Wonder why we got so many of those. Okay, and this whole line here, that's all propane, which it's going to be redundant for me to go over that again. Let's walk over here. I don't know why these are out of the box. That's kind of strange. So we're going to talk about a few accessories. This guy right here, it's a condensate neutralization kit. It's like there's like a canister in here that's got neutralizing media in it, and it's push fit, if I remember correctly. You just run that in line with your condensate line, and neutralizes it, and you can send it on its way. And these are all vent parts, what are called concentric vent kits. These are just extension pieces. This is that's a two-piece. You can run it. How does that work? I don't remember how these work. I'll have to come back to that. 45s, concentric, 90s over there. Some more 45s. Non-condensating kit here for a direct, what do you call it? Non-condensing kit, universal termination. Termination, that's the word I was looking for. Comes with a 90, it comes with a couple of flashings and a little cap. So you basically come out the heater, you turn out and go straight out the wall with it. These are really, really popular. Roof flashings, we keep those. They're meant for the to work with the OD on these style kits. We'll keep these two. This is for a vent. This is if you're running PVC for the vent. So you can stick this up on the outside. This goes outside the wall. It's got a flashing and all that to it, and you run your PVC out through it. Pretty neat little system. With that other piece that I got tongue tagulated on over here, I believe that is a similar setup. 3-inch concentric to vent. Oh, okay, so you can run a concentric vent into that and come out in PVC. That way, if you want to terminate your intake and your exhaust in different places, you can. That's actually pretty cool. I should have known that. I don't know why I had to struggle so hard. Sometimes life is a struggle. All right, so for your external units, you gotta put one of these pipe cover kits on that protects the piping underneath the heater. The PCDO3, that's for the non-condensing heaters. It's smaller. And the DO7, PCDO7, that's for the condensating heaters, your RUs. So make sure you don't mix those up. Okay, this will not work on the non-condensing, and that won't work on the condensing. They're different sizes. We keep the bottom plates too. There you go. For the 07, BP means bottom plate. You'll probably never sell one of those. What is that? I'm not sure what the PCDO1 goes to. It's kind of an odd one. You have a lot of bottom plates. There's bottom plates for the DO3. And here's some more vent kit extensions. Condensing flex termination. So that's part of the flex kit. We'll talk about that in a second. So these are for roof terminations. There's a direct, that's the one I was talking about, the termination. What else we got? Some more flex termination, roofs. Okay, so that flex termination kit. Let me see if I can find one back here. But it's a kit. It's a flexible tubing. It's kind of a corrugated type deal, PVC, for your condensing heaters. And what it lets you do is, if you have like V-vent running up to a roof, you can actually take this stuff and snake it up through the roof. Do I have any back here? Maybe I don't have any in stock right now. That sucks. But anyway, basically, it looks like a big roll of corrugated pipe, white corrugated pipe, and you run it up through the V vent, and you can just it lets you reuse the existing V vent, so you don't have to run a new vent. It's a whole lot easier than trying to do a new roof penetration and all this other stuff, and it lets you refit and rip out an old garbage tank heater and put in the new hotness. The new hotness. You know what I'm saying? Great idea. And one thing to note about these concentric kits, the primary difference between the condensing and non-condensing. The non-condensing kits, the inside pipe, which is so it's basically a pipe inside a pipe. So you got one pipe and you got another pipe. The inside pipe, that's your exhaust. Okay. On one of these guys right here. Well, not this one because that's external. Let's try it again on this guy right here. That concentric vent kit, the inside pipe is metal. The outside pipe is plastic because the intake's not as hot, so it doesn't have to be metal. On your condensing heaters, it's plastic and plastic because the exhaust on a condensing heater is much cooler. That's the whole reason why it makes condensate to start with. So make sure when you're pulling and getting these kits together, if they're using a concentric kit, make sure you get them the right one, because the non-condensing and the condensing kits are different. That inside pipe is metal on the non-condensing. It's very, very important you give them the right one. But on the condensing units, you can vent these in PVC, either 3-inch or 2-inch, depending on how far you're running. I believe, if you're not running very far, 2-inch is fine. You can vent them with 2-inch. You're good to go. But as far as like the actual performance specs on each one, I'm not going to really get into that. Because get online, read it. It's not that hard. What else have we got? We're just about done, I promise. Let's see. We got a pressure activated valves. We got, what is that? We got an old school, older controller there. Digital remote control. Commercial controllers. Control R. That's a Wi-Fi module. That's an upgrade. I think I might be wrong, but I think the RURs actually come with these now. This is meant for, refits. 195 controller. This is your most common controller. See, pretty. If you want to, what this is, what the M95 does, MC195 does. I don't know why this one's open, but it's kind of convenient. Instead of having to go outside and push buttons on the heater, you can just mount this inside the house. So, you control it from a distance. Easy connect cables. Pretty handy. Cash at me, automatic reseating, pressure only relief valve. Pressure only, very important. On a tankless heater, that's all you need. You don't want a pressure and temperature relief valve, a TMP valve. You want a pressure only valve. Okay, so don't mix those up. And yeah, that's about all I want to cover on that. Rinnais are really daggum cool. Leave it to the Japanese, man. They got this stuff figured out. These heaters are freaking awesome. Honestly, if you've got access to gas, you're a fool not to put one of these in. As expensive as tank heaters have gotten over the past few years, yeah. So something to think about. That's pretty much all I want to cover. What is that? Oh, that's one of the old RUCs. Okay. We still have a few of these kicking around too. We don't keep those anymore. What is it? Look at that. Some more RUCs. I know I want to say Mick put a bounty out on these. We've been trying to get rid of them. So if you know anybody needs one of these, I know these are all propane, so that makes them even harder to sell. But by all means, get rid of them. Make you some money. But yeah, I feel like that's pretty well covering it. Definitely check out the Rinnai website. Definitely read up on them some. Do your own research. And if you have any questions or any concerns, by all means, reach out to me. I'll tell you what I can. I'll try to walk you through things. It's no big deal. But I hope you learned something.